All right, we are here, week 4. I've got Ryan in the booth with me. Say what's up, Ryan.
Hey everybody. Hey everybody.
So,
Eric's got a meeting at 2, so I'm here to keep him honest.
yeah, and it's 1:08 right now, so I failed to keep these under an hour. And now I have Ryan to add more talking, so I really need to talk a lot less if I need to let Ryan get a word in. But yeah, Juwan Jennings last week. Crazy week. Didn't think I'd be looking for a Juwan Jennings gif to put on the cover slide of this week, but here we are. 42 points, 41 points. Basically saved Ryan's week. Hilarious.
Basically.
All right, start off with people that are gone. I actually debated who to consider 18th and 17th because they both got eliminated the same week. And I think I'd give the tiebreaker to the person who scored more last week, which was Cooper. But also Cooper resurrected himself, which is impressive, so I feel like he doesn't deserve 18th. But yeah, we'll get to Mitchell's slide and talk about him on his slide a little bit, but it was pretty much impossible last week for him not to get eliminated. And Cooper, 17th, pretty much same story. He had a chance, grabbing Terry McLaurin almost saved him, but just not quite enough to get it done for another week. You're fighting an uphill battle once you get resurrected too, but I think Cooper could have spent more, to be honest. He still had 37 fab of his 50, so maybe more could have been done, but he tried. And now in the gulag is Jack. Kind of surprising, very surprising actually, our former champion. He has a chance this week, I think, to come back. His team's actually not terrible for who he picked up for 0 fab.
I like what he did. He kind of just went for the deep ball guys.
Yeah. Doesn't he have Alec Pierce and some other guys?
Yeah, I think it's a good strat. See if they can catch some bombs. I like it.
You have to rely on that because you can't play a bunch of floor plays if you're in this situation because your floor plays are very low floors for who's out there. So I like it. I like the strat. Be rooting for it. I'll probably put out a parlay again with his guys. Alec Pierce 50-yard touchdown. Throw that on there somewhere.
That would be good odds.
Top 25% last week. Huff coming in hot again with the star. Matt with another flame. And then we have Ryan. I know, Ryan, you hate being on this slide. But it happens when you have a guy that scores 42 points.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And Fleming. So average score here of 120, up 2% from last week. Pretty much the same. Still, week 1 was our highest top 25% average. And like I said, I think that just happens because of unpredictability.
And the is the gulag guys bringing it down? Probably.
I don't include them in the top in the average for the top 25% and bottom. Same with the bottom 25%. It's the bottom. It's the average of these 4, which does not include Jack. So really the floor is lower, but average score here of 82, which is up very significantly from last week. Ben scored 90 something last week, so there's a big gap after these 3, and then the people that got eliminated in gulag to Ben. But because I'm keeping 4 here, this is the last week of 4. Next week we're going to 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom. But floor is way up from last week, 67 up to 82. With Jack getting eliminated at 77 is a big difference from people getting eliminated with 58, I think, both the first 2 weeks. So, yeah, Joey, Jake, Ben also in here. And Thursday night, we'll just touch on this quickly. I think this should be a good game. I mean, Ryan, are you excited about the Giants? Is there a chance here?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're better than people think, but
I think so.
The Cowboys just always seem to own us.
That's where I'm at too.
Thursday night or Sunday night, whenever it seems to be. So we'll see. But
it's hard to trust the Cowboys defense after what they've done this season so far. But I agree with you. I feel like they could also just dominate again, as they seem to always do against the Giants.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But Devin Singletary is looking good, and I saw a stat that the Cowboys have one of the worst run defenses by far in the entire NFL, and Devin Singletary should eat. But we'll see. Cowboys are favored by 5. All right, another Monday night doubleheader. I'm a fan of these for the guillotine purposes. So much can go down on Monday, like we saw this past week. Insane, actually, how Potter did not get eliminated, or Jake, to be honest. But that did not have to do with Monday night. That had to do with Kyron. But this week we got Dolphins and Titans. Probably one of the most uninteresting matchups I've ever heard of in my life. The over-under is 36.5. It should be a terrible game. But will be fantasy implications like Tyreek, Achan, Tyreek can't do anything, it seems like, right now without a competent quarterback. So, not that Tua is a competent quarterback, but
more competent than Tim Boyle.
More competent than Tim Boyle. And yeah, I guess the Titans have a couple guys. And then probably more excitingly is Seahawks-Lions. Seahawks are undefeated. Lions have a lot of fantasy players. So do the Seahawks. And then we got to keep an eye on the Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet. They might both be startable if they're both playing. I'm not sure. I know Huff has Charbonnet and Ben
that puts Ben
Walker.
That puts Ben in a tough spot if he needs.
He can auto sub. So Ben would have to. Like, Ben could even auto if he has someone on Thursday. I don't know what his bench is, but if he has a Thursday player, he'd have to auto sub him right now for Kenneth Walker. You can't auto sub a Thursday night player after, but
I forgot about that.
More likely it would be a Sunday night or Sunday player. But yeah, that's it for Monday. Should be a fun day. Yeah, this is kind of crazy to see Jack all the way up here. I mean, as we saw the last 2 weeks, he was in the top 2 with Potter in overall scoring, and now he's in the gulag with over 300 points. Not a lot of people have over 300 points. I guess 6, 7, about half the league maybe ish has over 300 points, averaging 100 a week. Mitchell and Cooper gone, as we said, and Joey is just like way down here. Joey's been hanging on for dear life since day one, and I feel like Jake is kind of there with him. Ben's team is better than I think where he's at, right? His overall scoring on the year is right now, and same with Fleming. Fleming's team is pretty solid too right now, as he almost has spent all his fab. But yeah. That's about it here to say here, unless Ryan, you have anything.
No, I got nothing.
All right. The economy. Average right now is 66. Johnny with 150 owns 14% of the market, or everyone else, or the average of the league would be 6% if it was distributed evenly, so he owns more than double what the average person has. And what's funny is his team isn't bad either. I would expect a team with 150 fab. I mean, he's in the Mark situation, actually, from last year. And this is around the time, like weeks like 5 or 6, that Mark got eliminated, like out of nowhere, when Mark had over 100 fab and also had a good team, and it made no sense. So if it happened again, it'd be hilarious. I feel like Johnny's kind of put a target on his back. Like, everyone would be rejoicing if Johnny got eliminated just because of the fab, because it would strengthen everyone else's team just by default because money. But I'm over 100 as well. Everyone else who was over 100 spent this week. Like, what was that? Ryan and Potter and Mark all spent to make their teams better, which is probably worth it. I'm holding on. Huff's done nothing, and he's doing great, so looks good for him. Same with JC. He hasn't done much, but he's looking good too, so he's up there with fab now. And Fleming down here with $1. Not great. And everyone else is pretty much right around the middle of the pack, 60 to 80 fab. So, yeah, only 1,050 left in circulation already. Started off with 1,800, so we're burning through it fast. And just the other visualization of it, Mitchell got eliminated. I'm going back to when, like, before he got gulagged. So he got eliminated with 87. Cooper got eliminated with 37, but really got eliminated with 100 before he got resurrected. And now Jack just got gulagged with 101, so nothing really to say here. I know last year we had the trend of high fab people getting eliminated, but just we'll keep tracking this week over week. All right, my quick week 3 overview. The question is to be conservative with fab or to beef up now, because there's a lot of teams that are like very clearly like the bad teams. I won't name names now, but you kind of know who you are. And I guess I'm saying, cough, Johnny, your team's not bad, but you have all this fab, and I don't know. I feel like you could use some of it at this point to make his team a little better, but I think his team's fine. But these past 2 weeks, we saw a lot of teams spend big to bolster up their lineups, like Fleming and Phillip 2 weeks ago, and this past week, Mark and Ryan did a bunch to, or really Ryan, you just got Brees, but that's a big chunk to make your team better. And now, most of these teams are stronger than average, according to the analytics, as we'll get to, and which leaves those guys that were in the bottom with them weaker, or those weaker teams that were down there with them in a tough spot, because now there's less bad teams, I think. So it's kind of clearly going to be, I think, like one of 3 people this week, unless something crazy happens. So yeah, we will see. All right, the graphs. The Fantasy Pros versus Sleeper for this week. Mark has thrown himself way up there. He spent big this week on a lot of guys. We'll get to that. This is Fleming and Huff. They're overlapped, but they're both in a great spot for this week. And Ryan, look at you. You snuck in. You snuck into the green.
Love it.
Same with Ben. Ben snuck into the green this week. I think you're being helped by Jack pulling down the average. And then Potter and Phillip are liked more by Fantasy Pros, and James is liked more by Sleeper. And then Joey and David and Jake very in the red. Not a good spot to be. He apparently forgot waivers, right? So that's a tough spot when you were already one of the worst teams and you didn't do anything. So, and now next week versus rest of season actually has Jake's team above David. David has the worst rest of season rating, which is kind of surprising because in theory he'd get Pacheco back, and that would be included in the rest of season rating. But apparently they didn't like Pacheco that much to throw him up higher than everyone else. But Mark and Fleming way up here. Huff, surprisingly, does not have he's not in the green for rest of season. I think he has a really good team, but just barely below the halfway mark. And Ryan, you are just at average for this week, but below average for rest of season. So, which I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think Brees is going to carry you all the way. I think he alone should be enough to keep you going almost.
It's kind of the Brees show. I'm hopeful CJ Stroud will score more than 10 points this week against Jacksonville. So it's obviously, we saw it with Jack Colston. Like, your quarterback puts up a dud and you're kind of screwed. So anyway.
Wait, who did Jack have?
Anthony Richardson.
Oh yeah, and now Johnny has him. So we'll see about that. But yeah, that's really it to say here. And then lastly, the position strength budget. Johnny way up here with the budget, and he's like top 5 in strength of team too, so he's in a great spot, I would say. Everyone else in the green here is in a good spot too. Mark is just now barely below the budget line, even though he spent a bunch this week. He was way up there at like 130 something, so he spent a bunch, made his team a lot better, and he's still pretty average on fab, so he's in a good spot. Fleming and Phillip, strong teams, low fab. And then Ben and Matt here in the red. Actually, Jake is not in the red here. Jake is above average on budget, but below average on position strength. Same with David, Ryan, JC. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, I'll be curious to see how these graphs, they'll be a lot easier to delineate once we stop having these gulag teams pulling down the average. I could just start excluding them, but I feel like it's fun to see how much worse they are projected to be, and if they end up coming back like Cooper did. But yeah, in summary, I have me, Johnny, and Mark are the 3 in the green everywhere. Huff, I forget which one he's not in the green, but I remember it actually. It was this one, just barely below rest of season average, but I think he's still one of the solid overall teams. And JC, I bumped him up into here. I think hasn't done much to improve his team, but his team has just been good since the draft, so he still has a lot of fab. The good and the short, questionable long. I've added Ryan. You've flip-flopped. Do you think you were here and then you were here and now you're back here? Because you went Bijan 2 weeks ago, got rid of Bijan, and you were down here, and now you got Brees. Now I think you're up here, where you spent a bunch. You're good now, but with less fab, you're more questionable long term. Same with Ben. I think I had Ben here, and Fleming and Phillip were here last week too. They've spent a bunch, made their teams better, but what I'd say about these teams is I would find it hard to believe that any of these teams can win the entire thing. And maybe that's a bold claim, because I feel like you need fab later. But also Jack did it. Jack was in this all last. Jack was this top left corner, the owner of this top left corner last year, and he won because he spent all his fab in week 3. So maybe I'm wrong. It just seems like it's harder to pull that off. And I've put Potter down here with David and Joey, who I think were here last week, because in the short term, almost all these 3 are injury based. I think these guys have fab. Their teams are okay, but they have injuries. He has Cooper Kupp, he has Pacheco, Joey has CMC and Mixon, who I actually heard Mixon might not play. I thought he was going to, but he might not play this week, which will be tough. James and Matt right around average, and I have Jake in here with Jack. I considered putting Joey and or David in the danger zone as well, but I think Jake is no offense, in an island of his own in terms of being worse than them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you disagree with any of these, Ryan?
I think no, I don't disagree. I agree with your point about I think David is in the danger zone as well, with Tank being questionable, Waddle having Tim Boyle, and JT having the Steelers.
Yeah,
So
man, actually,
I
all
don't.
those are extremely tough.
Yeah, so I don't love that, and I think Jake, to give him a glimmer of hope, the Browns play Las Vegas, who just got
Oh,
absolutely torched by Dalton,
yeah.
and then the Bears play the Rams, which could bode well for DeAndre Swift to break out of his little rut, if you can even call it that. So I don't know. I think it'll be probably more interesting than I think you made it out to be, but we'll see.
Yeah, those are some good points. I think David actually has a lot harder matchups than I realized. I didn't have time to like scroll through everyone's team and like look at matchups that closely. So that's a good point.
Yeah, but that said, I don't know if I love the double Broncos running backs against
No,
the
I hate
Jets.
that. And the
Yeah.
doubling up in two different places on arguably bad teams is just not a good,
Uh,
especially backfields. I hate doubling. Receivers is more acceptable if it's like a
yeah.
wide receiver 1 and 2, but in this case it's a 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. What are we at right now? 16 minutes. I think we're making decent time. Now we're getting into the teams. Oh, I forgot to mention on the cover slide, I was going to say this is a meme edition. Week 4 meme edition. I want to say we did it around this time last year too, when there was enough had happened that there was enough memes. You can make a meme for every team. So Huff, the league making a million panic moves every week. Huff grabbing random backup running backs or honestly doing nothing. I don't think he's picked up anyone that he's started.
And I made this meme before he just picked up Algier, ironically.
Oh,
So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, Ryan, by the way, all these memes are courtesy of Ryan, so he cranked them out this week. But you guys are... a couple of them I grabbed from the chat that other people had made, but most of these are Ryan. But Huff's team has just been dominating. I mean, Goddard is now the tight end 1 on the year after that performance. Crazy. Never... what was that, 175 yards or something on 10 catches? Just crazy. And then Deontay popped off.
Devontae might be hurt. So that will probably continue.
Devonta Smith, yeah. And is A.J. Brown out again? I think he is.
And Britton Covey's out too. Or Covey or whatever. Yeah. So, yes, it might be the Goddard show once again.
Holy crap, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah. Huff might just repeat here as the star next week. I would have no doubt. Because and if Charbonnet plays, like if Kenneth Walker is out, like this is very clearly one of the best teams in the league right now. Khalil Shakir is like a great flex play.
Yeah, and he doesn't even need to do anything right now because the rest of his team is fine. But like Achane probably won't continue to perform up to his capabilities under
without
Tim Boyle or whoever. Yeah, their offense is just going to do a lot of nothing probably. But it's you can afford to be patient when the rest of your team is as solid as it is. So,
and I still think there's hope for Achane. Like you would think a backup quarterback would just be. You help the backup quarterback by dumping off to the running back,
I agree.
Plays that make it easy for the backup quarterback, and that involves getting the ball to the running back a lot, I think.
Yeah, anyway. Except everybody in the world knows that it's going to him. But
yeah, very true.
Yeah,
you got Tyreek. Yeah, the Dolphins should be able to do something, even with a bad quarterback. They should be able to do something more than what they've done. Yeah. But anyway, 100 fab still looking great. Matt's team. So Matt's team just being solid. His flexes are pretty bad. They're not terrible. I mean, if you look across this chart here, I mean, he's no red anywhere, by the way, but they're just below average flexes here. Ladd McConkey and Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson should be better than he is. He is their wide receiver 1, so I guess he does get the wide receiver 1 kind of attention from defenses, but I feel like he should be doing better. And Laporta, he goes and picks up Laporta for a lot of fab 22. I feel like it's a pretty sizable amount for a guy that hasn't done it this year and is also questionable. So we'll see. Almost every top tight end has been pretty bad this year. It's kind of crazy how that happened. So if you avoided tight end early in the draft, you're probably in a good spot right now. But Dak popped off from Aaron Jones has been great. Packers D, he already moved on from them, but they had a good week last week. So I would say he's solid overall. Najee is, I think Warren's going to be out. Is what it's sounding like.
Yeah, Najee's just getting a buttload of carries. Yeah. So and he hasn't scored yet. He'll probably score eventually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'll score eventually.
So I think this is a really textbook example of like an above average team. Yeah, an above average safe team is what I would say. He is lower on the fab, but he's looking good right now.
Garbage time Dak stays undefeated.
Exactly. So we'll see what Dak pulls off tonight. All right, Ryan's team. One of the worst lineups going into week 3. Juwan Jennings. If you do the math, Ryan scored 108, which is a good number. You obviously got a flame, obviously. If Juwan Jennings scores a more reasonable, say, 10 points, Ryan is down to 77, which is the losing score. So this was the difference. If Juwan Jennings scored single digits, Ryan's eliminated. But he didn't, so it is what it is. That's Guillotine. Now Ryan's the top scorer of the week. So, and now he adds Brees to the mix, and now you're pretty looking like a stud at running back. Everywhere else, mainly the flexes, I would say, could use some work. But what is this, Michael Wilson and Roschon?
I think I'm gonna start Josh Downs instead of Roschon.
Josh Downs against the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I think his floor is higher than Roschon's. Like, I think isn't
Roschon getting the bulk now, or no?
He got 8 last week to Swift's 11 or something.
Okay,
so I don't know. But I mean, Joe Burrow just absolutely shredded Washington. I think Kyler in Arizona will continue to do that. So
yeah.
Is Michael Wilson the long-term answer at flex? Like, probably not. But is he going to probably get 10 points this week? I would bet on it,
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that was the matchup this week, so that's I would agree with that. The thing with last week, that was the first time a defense had played single high safety against the Bengals in, like, I feel like over a year. That's why, like, and you saw what happens. Like, you just throw it to Jamar Chase. If you're going to one-on-one Jamar Chase with one safety, just anytime the safety does not stay deep, throw it to him.
I wonder if they'll adjust now that they're probably going to run into the same thing with Marvin Harrison Jr., but who knows?
Yeah. We will see. We'll see if they adapt. They won last week without it mattering. And Stroud, it should be good. I mean, he should continue to go up.
Yeah, if he does a portion of what Josh Allen did to Jacksonville, that would probably be helpful.
Yeah. Oh, and I like the move, by the way, to trade away Garrett Wilson for 25. Given that you spent a lot this week, I think it's good to get some back for a guy that's kind of underperforming. But in theory, as we heard from Rodgers, they should continue. Like, we're just scratching the surface, in theory, on what Garrett Wilson could be doing. But
I mean, I got a lot of no's on Garrett Wilson. I like Garrett Wilson, but my team was not good, and Garrett Wilson has some tough matchups for the next 4 weeks. Like, I would love
Denver, I think, isn't that this week?
Yeah, Denver's this week. I would love to get him back, and eventually, if Mark were to get eliminated, which doesn't look likely, but I would love to get him. I would love to get him back. Just wasn't conducive to where my team is at right this second.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. I think it was a sensible move for you.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings should fill in very nicely in the time.
Yeah. Fine.
All right, Fleming. My team is so good. You still have Fab, right? No, he does not have any Fab. His team is great. Has no Fab. $1. So he has $1 of Fab. He spent pretty much the rest of it on Terry McLaurin this week. I tried to get Terry McLaurin. I would have liked to have him. He would have been an upgrade at my flex for sure. And I was kind of out on him. But then when I just saw Monday night, I was like, okay, this can actually work. Like, they're actually going to start throwing the ball deep and using him. He was not used week 1 and 2, it felt like. But Josh Allen's carrying. I mean, besides last week where he scored like 9 points, he's been unstoppable, it feels like. And Fleming's receiving core is great. I mean, I guess it's only in the starting lineup Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, and McLaurin. And then now he's got the 2 tight ends. I don't know if these are actually who he's starting, but this is just what the analytics says.
I think they are. Guys. Yeah, I
mean, it makes sense. If I had Kelsey on my team, this is why I don't want Kelsey on my team. If I have him on my team, I can't bench him.
You have to start him.
Like, you have to start him because you know what could happen. I'm like 2 weeks away from, if I had him on my team, I'd consider benching him if he continues at this pace. But like right now, you still can't necessarily bench him.
He's getting into Pittman territory.
Exactly. And Kincaid scored, so he should be on the up. But his running backs are solid too. Brian Robinson, Zach Moss, all around really solid here.
So. And Eckler's out this week, so
yeah,
not that Fleming needs, Brian Robinson to
Jack grabbed that guy. I can't remember his name, but it's the Commanders running back that should fill in as the RB2.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But I'm blanking on his name. But anyway, we'll get to that when we get to his slide. Johnny, yeah, Johnny traded away his boy Jaden Daniels to Potter, and now I'm sure Johnny, after watching that performance, is sad about it, but can't be too sad about getting 30 fab for him. Johnny's now dominating the market with 150 fab, and he goes from Jaden Daniels to Anthony Richardson and / Justin Fields, who the analytics has as the better option to start this week. But yeah, Johnny did a lot of trades. He got got Pollard, got Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think he's not going to start Trevor. Did he drop Trevor Lawrence? I think he did, because if he has Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson, he probably dropped Lawrence, but moved on from guys like Gus Edwards and Terry McLaurin. I don't really care about Gus Edwards. Probably a good move. Terry McLaurin could be good now, but Johnny's team's good. Malik Neighbors, Jaden Reed, Pollard, Brian Thomas. Bowers has been one of the only tight ends that's been good consistently this year, so that's a good look. And James Cook has been dominating, so. And a couple more weeks of Hubbard, and Hubbard looks good with Andy Dalton throwing him the ball, so. Yeah, Johnny's good. I would say he's in a good spot. He's serviceable or better at every position is how I put it. And he's got a lot of fab, so he's in a very dominant position in the league. JC. Christian Kirk and Keon Coleman just out here getting cardio. I feel like this is a badly timed meme because Keon Coleman just scored last week, and Christian Kirk had like 10 catches, but it was still kind of a small performance. But weeks 1 and 2 were awful for those two guys. They did not do much. And JC started them both weeks. But I think he's waiting out. Like, he's not going to sell low on them, it doesn't seem. He's going to hold on to them and let the season develop. I think they could both be good. But Burrow was his top scorer last week. Big game. Burrow, I think, should be good this year. Apparently, it's our defense that won't be good, which would be good for Burrow, actually, because it'll make him throw more. So good to have Burrow in leagues, I guess. And Alvin Kamara and I saved him Gibbs. Now. Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs are going to be a solid pair of running backs here. But that's pretty much it. Is this Jalen Naylor? That's kind of a tough. I mean, isn't Addison coming back sometime soon? So we'll see. But he upgrades to a tight end too. I think he had Gesicki last week. Gesicki's a top 10 tight end right now. So I don't know. Could be a good.
I think Kamada's too.
He just scored like 20 points last week. That's going to immediately put you as a top. I think what's his face? Likely is still a top 5 tight end, even though he has not done anything the last 2 weeks because
that's crazy.
He scored 20 week 1, and that was enough to be a top 5 tight end.
That's crazy.
Okay, Mark, really solid week again. I mean, a lot of green on this. He adds Jordan Mason right to the lineup, Ayuk right to the lineup, Garrett Wilson right into the flex, and he gets Pittman. He was not projected to be better than these guys to
he's
start.
He's not starting.
Okay, I think Mark's on the same page as me with him. I mean, I just traded Pittman to him for Mooney, but it's not the right time to start him, especially against the Steelers. But he's the wide receiver 1 there. If Anthony Richardson can like calm down and learn how to throw mid-range passes, then we should be back.
Which is why Downs is the way to go over Pittman.
Yeah, they said I heard like an analysis that Pittman is the 3rd deep option in the wide receiver room. That's why he's not getting anything done, because Anthony Richardson can apparently only throw deep balls.
To
Alec Pierce, and then Josh Downs, like in week 1, Ashley Doolin, I think it was, had a deep touchdown. So I don't hate the Josh Downs play for you, but yeah, he's really solid now everywhere. I mean, Ayuk's been disappointing, but should step up. Apparently, the analytics does not like Kittle for some reason this week. I don't know why. Baker's good.
Is he playing?
Oh, is he hurt? Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe because he's injured. Same thing when we get to Joey's slide. It has Mixon as like a really low-end RB2. I'm like, really? If he's playing? But I think they're accounting for injury here. Wait, Devonta Smith? Does he have Devonta Smith too?
He does. Yep.
But he's hurt. He's hurt. So wow, that's 6 disgusting receivers, I would say. Jamar, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, and Devonta Smith. That's kind of a very stacked receiving core there. All right, James. Make a fun move or draw 25. He's done almost nothing these past 2 weeks, and he doesn't need to, frankly. I mean, with Charbonnet. Wait, he has Charbonnet? Wait, no, this is JSN. My bad. JSN and Lockett and Noah Fant. He's just all in on the Seahawks. But they've been good, so it works out. Derrick Henry and J.K. Dobbins are a stud pair of running backs, even though they're labeled here as pretty mid. I think they're pretty solid. Olave, T. Higgins should be good. So yeah, I think James is another one of those teams that's just like solid and has above average fab, so he's in a good spot right now. Doesn't need to push any panic buttons. All right, David's team. I guess this is what you talked about, the matchups. Tough matchup for JT, Tank, Hurt, and Waddle catching balls from Tim Boyle. Braylon Allen. Hey, Braylon Allen's been really good. He's been more efficient, actually, than Breece Hall, but just not getting as many touches. They both might be fantasy viable going forward. I mean, Breece,
I don't know if he's starting him, actually.
He might. I mean, analytics has him that he should in the flex 1. And I believe what do we have here? Wandale, Evan Ingram, who's still hurt, it seems. Tank Dell, Jalen Waddle, Rico, JT, Goff. Steelers D should be good. So yeah, David's in a tough little spot this week, especially with matchups. And going forward, he'll still be in a tough spot regardless of matchups. Injuries haven't helped. And he really didn't do much to get better. I mean, Braylon Allen's probably the only starter he picked up this week. I don't think he's starting Darnold or Emmanuel Wilson. So, yeah, that's where he's at, right around average at fab as well. But Jacoby Myers, he has Jacoby Myers, doesn't he? I feel like he should be a starter. He probably is a starter. This just isn't accounting for it. But that's David's team. Phil's team, same meme format. Just happened to be back-to-back. Auto draft giving him 20 receivers. Bijan for all his fab. And that was a week ago, I know, but it's still very relevant because he didn't do anything this week. And his team's really good. And he got Carson Steele last week. I think that's actually a very serviceable RB2 for like the time being. He should give you like a floor of 6 points every week, I would say. And with everyone else he has in his team, I think he's looking great. I mean, Tyreek is struggling while Tua's out, but everyone else is pretty good. Odunze looks like he might actually come into his own here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting with Phil. Like, obviously after the draft and then no moves really week 1, it was kind of like, all right, like what are we doing really? But even though he's low on fab, like Lamar is endgame, Bijan is endgame, Tyreek is endgame, and
Nico is endgame.
Yeah.
Odunze, we'll see. I mean, he's the only other possible person on his team I think could be an endgame person if he like becomes the best receiver on the Bears and
I disagree, but I think he'll keep him, if nothing else, like he'll be a nice supplement for a long time.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's funny, as rough as he started, he's actually a decent
He might
shape.
have the most endgame players, maybe outside of like Mark and Fleming.
I would agree.
Has like the most endgame players already on his team.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree. Yeah.
Good spot to be for Phil. All right, on to me. The Red Rifle. You know, we had it's the meme week, so now no player gifts. But I was really excited this week. I was going to get to put an Andy Dalton gif on my slide, and now I don't. But now this week I have a decision.
As if you don't make this slide and could have chosen to do it anyway.
No, I gotta stick with the memes. Memes on every slide this week. This week I got a decision: Dalton or Bengals D that just got destroyed. So either I don't want to start Dalton against my own team, but we looked terrible last week, so maybe Dalton will just torch us. So I don't know. I'm in a tough spot with that. I added Geno Smith, so I'll have to make that decision. Frankly, if one of you really likes the idea of Dalton starting against a terrible Bengals defense, I am willing to trade him. So give me some. It won't take much, I don't think either, because I am comfortable with Geno Smith. Just laying all the cards on the table. If you want Dalton,
come and get him.
DM me. Yeah, Jets D. I spent a lot on them, like 8, I think. Which at the time when I bid 8 on them, I didn't think that was a high bid. But then I think the next highest bid was $2. So I was like, oh man, I overpaid. But I don't think I overpaid. They are great, and they are going to score me double-digit points almost every week. And now they have the Broncos, and they should be able to do that again. So, yeah. And I traded with Mark to get Mooney. Mooney, who on paper shouldn't be as good as Pittman, but he is doing better. He is performing better currently and seems to be a good target that Kirk is throwing to. So yeah. I feel safer with him at my flex this week than I do Pittman. Didn't want to double up on 2 struggling receivers with tough matchups this week because having Cortland Sutton playing the Jets, I don't love him getting locked up by Sauce potentially, but we'll see how it goes. So I dumped off one of them. And yeah, JJ and Chris Godwin should keep carrying the load for me. And my running backs, I maybe have a little bit of reason to concern. They didn't have great weeks last week. They combined for less than 6 points, which is terrible. But I made it work without them. So, yeah, didn't do too much this week. I had a Dobbs. I do like Dobbs. I think when what's his face is coming back, Jordan Love. Dobbs is low key the next best receiver after Jaden Reed on the team, I would say, in usage. So I'm excited to have him. Don't think I overpaid. All right, Ben. Barkley will continue to carry the load. Ben, Saquon for 45 or Saquon for 63. I mean, we can crap on him all we want for doing that move for Saquon and losing Fab and not even getting to play him week 1. And also the move for Devin Singletary, which I knocked when it happened, but I'm slowly coming around to Devin Singletary might be better than I thought. Or the Giants, I guess I should say, might be better than I thought, meaning Devin Singletary benefits from that. So, yeah, Barkley, Purdy, Singletary last week were his guys. He's got a lot of red. What's his face? Pickens, Rashid Shaheed, who had a goose egg last week. Kate Otton's nothing special. And then Rashad White and Yosef Ash in the flexes. Not terrible, but he would also have Kenneth Walker in here somewhere if he ends up playing. But I guess if he's not in here, it is saying he is unlikely to play, I think. So, yeah, I do like the move to trade away Mostert for 4 Fab. I mean, I think it was Potter that went and got him. So, Mostert, I didn't see much use for Mostert. So, good move, I'd say, this week. Also adds Bo Nix. If Bo Nix continues, maybe he'll surpass Purdy in the starting lineup here. All right. Oh, and yeah, that was Ben's second Ice Cube. Although he didn't really deserve it with 96, but it is what it is. All right, Jake. Jake's team of Broncos running backs and Browns wide receivers carried by Kyron heavily. Jake is the same situation as Ryan last week with Jawan Jennings. If Kyron scores even a reasonable, let's say, 21 points and not 31, Jake is eliminated. So it's when you have these players that go off, like your entire bad team can be carried by one player, and it's very true. Bills D has been good for him every week. I want to say they scored double digits almost every week, which has been good.
They've got Baltimore this week. So.
Tough, but I don't know if I'd bench them. I think I'd still roll with them. They've been solid. His receivers.
Well, he's a Baltimore fan.
He's a Baltimore fan.
So
then maybe he won't, but we'll see. He didn't pick up a defense. He hasn't done anything. Not even like after waivers did he go and pick up someone, even though he forgot about waivers. But he may need another blow up, game from Kyron, and analytics likes Ferguson tonight, so he could very much use that. And same with Jalen Hurts. Everyone else is kind of meh. And you said about Swift, maybe we'll see something from Swift, but I'm not counting on it. All right, Joey waiting for Mark Andrews to show up. He's just not. I don't even know how the analytics can still have him as the tight end 6. And apparently they're playing the Bills, so that's tough. He's also got Hunter Henry in there, who had just one good week, and other than that, it's eh. Brings Diggs into the mix, so he's okay at receiver with Rashee Rice and Diggs. Running backs are tough. Zamir White's been just such a bum. And this is where I was saying the analytics doesn't like Mixon just because he's hurt, I guess. But he's expected to kind of maybe play. He'll be better than this if he plays. And then Rodgers, apparently analytics doesn't like that either, but I don't think it's terrible. Niners D should be good. So Joey is in kind of a tough spot, but has some guys that could help get him.
Rashee Rice is a baller.
Yeah, I wish I drafted him. You could get him at good value, too, in drafts this year. So anyone who has Rashee Rice is pretty happy. I thought he'd be in jail, so I didn't want to touch him. And he has Eckler, who's hurt. Joey does, but that'll hurt him this week. All right, Potter, the crazy story of the week. Ooh, I stepped in shit my entire fantasy roster in week 3. Great meme. Minus Jaden Daniels. I want to say he sent this out on Sunday before the whole Jaden Daniels trade and game happened. He spends like 30 basically to get Jaden Daniels, trades away Pollard and Trevor Lawrence. I think you can't argue with the move. He saved himself because of it. He was dead if he didn't. So no matter how much fab he gave, it was worth it. His running backs are just the only bad part of his team. Zeke and who even is this? Oh, Bucky Irving, who actually is kind of.
I like Bucky. I think he's
good floor play. Great floor play.
I think he's gonna pass Rashad. I think Todd Bowles said that.
We'll see.
I like Bucky.
Week over week, he's getting more and more usage, so I think it's definitely trending towards that. He's got good receivers, as we know. He's got Kupp injured, so on top of this, he has Kupp, but he's got CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Jameson. He's got Likely and Pitts, and I think he might be starting both of them. I'm predicting a likely pop-off week this week. I know he's pretty benchable after his last 2 weeks, but I think this is a week where they are going to be passing the ball like crazy. Last week they were not. They were just running all over the Cowboys, so Likely didn't get used. This is going to be a high-scoring game, or they're going to need to score to keep up with the Bills. So I see likely getting used. So should be a good week for him. Still has 84 fab too. So not many teams have a star and a trash can this early. So Potter's seen it all so far. And last but not least is Jack. Jack getting free fab for Saquon, but then getting chopped because he didn't have Saquon. I mean, classic. I feel like Jack went against his own philosophy of who cares about fab, just get the good players, and then he went and traded Saquon back. But to be fair, he gained fab on it, so I can't argue with the move, but I can exhibit A right here why not to do that. Just keep the good players. He would be alive if he had Saquon. So, and now he's got a semi-decent lineup, I think, going in. What do we have? Deshaun, Antonio Gibson, Cordero Patterson, who might get some more usage with Arthur Smith, and Jaden, Jalen Warren out. Alec Pierce, Mike Williams, Conklin, don't even know. Is that Ray McLeod?
Ray.
And
yeah.
Tolbert. Tolbert's been good. So Tolbert tonight. So he'll need something from Tolbert. He'll get 51 if he gets resurrected because he was at 101 and we round up. So we'll see. I think he actually has a legitimate chance this week with some kind of very bad teams out there that might not score very much. So we will see. Cooper, one last look. I mean, he gave it his all. He tried, except he didn't give all his fab, is what I would say. Could have spent more, but he almost got it done. He gave the league a scare almost. Almost could have gotten out again. But it's an uphill battle after you get resurrected too. But it's at least gives you a couple more weeks of fantasy where you're not just out immediately, and that's kind of the idea. No one who gets resurrected is supposed to make it that far if they even get resurrected, but it just lengthens the fun, I guess. You get one more week. And Mitchell, same thing. I mean, odds were stacked against him with another team also like scrapping through the waivers. So he had a couple good performances with Geno Smith and Tutu Atwell. Maybe you can't really argue 13's that good for Geno, but it was his highest score, so we're counting it. All right, my power rankings. Stuff has moved around a good bit. I put Huff up to 1. I had him at 2 last week, and I had him at 6 last week, and I think he's deserving of the 1. I have no problem leaving him there. I bumped myself down because of it, but I'm still an above average team with the second most fab, so I don't think I'm falling that far. JC, I bumped him back up. I think I was still kind of right with my original like analysis of his team. His team's good. Like, he drafted a good team, and he hasn't had to do much. Mark has made a lot of moves, getting fab, spending fab, and now I think he lands right here. I think he might have the best team on paper, but he spent a lot of fab. So, I mean, he's lower in fab than us 3 here, but his team is probably better than potentially the best in the league, like I said. So, we'll see. Fleming stays where he is. His team's good. Didn't really do anything this week except for getting Terry McLaurin. Matt, I think, deserves to move up to the top half of the league, given that he's been a top 25% scorer the last 2 weeks, and his team just seems to be serviceable. They get it done. It's not like the prettiest team, but they get it done. And Johnny, you could argue he should be higher with the fab, but I'm weighting this more towards actual roster. And his team's good, like I said, above average team. So 7 is above average of 16 teams left, or 15 really, you could say. But he has a lot of fab, so a lot of room to move up to. James pretty much staying right around the middle of the pack. I think his team's good, has fab, not much to say. Potter goes down 6. I mean, his team is still solid. Like, we see those receivers he has that are good, but I don't know. Just I think he's a little lower than Johnny and James. Like, they're not far apart here in terms of current roster quality. And same with Phillip. There's an argument to be made that Phillip could be higher because of how good his team is. And like Ryan and I said, all the studs that he has that are late game players. And moved Ben up. I think with all the running backs he has, I think he's in a good spot. Without Kenneth Walker, though, that's going to be tough. We'll see about that. And then Ryan, I bumped you up. I had you really low last week. Last outside of the Gulag eliminated or whatever resurrected teams, but bumped you back up to 12. You're in a better spot with Brees for sure. There's an argument to be made. You could be a little higher, but I think you're around the middle of the pack at best currently. I don't know if you would agree.
I think that's fair. No, I don't think I'm better right this minute than any of those teams above me. I would agree.
Ben, I was going to say maybe you'd argue with Ben, but I think Ben has more running backs, but you have better receivers. Actually, who are your receivers? I'm already blanking on who your receivers even are because you traded away Garrett Wilson.
Well, I have Debo hurt, but Zay
yeah.
Flowers and Jawan Jennings.
Okay,
for now.
so you both have mid receivers, generally speaking. David keeps going down. He didn't do much to improve this week, and he still has injured guys, so it's not a great look for David. Joey, same deal. I don't think Joey did anything this week. I forget, but he
Diggs for 25.
Oh, Diggs. So that helps, but he was already in such a hole that he's down for sure. And Jake kept him right at 15. I think Jake is the worst surviving team currently, and I think Jack could beat him this week. Jack could resurrect himself because of Jake or Joey or David. Frankly, I think it's one of these three. It wouldn't be that hot of a take, but I do not see a world. I mean, I said it last week. I guess last week there were multiple potential eliminations, and that's how it's funny how Potter and guys like Potter and Jack, who are good teams on my rankings, almost got eliminated. Jack did get eliminated, but it's got to be one of these three this week, right? I mean, maybe without Kenneth Walker, Ben could get scared, but it's got to be one of these three this week. I don't know, Ryan. Do you have any other? Before I show you my hot take, do you have any like guys in here that you think should be scared outside of these three, or do you think any of these guys are actually safer than I'm saying right now?
I think if Joe Mixon doesn't play, Joey's in a tough spot.
I don't think he is.
But
it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, and I mean, I already said I think Jake's team is not as bad as not good, but not as bad as I think it seems the gap is between him and Joey. And I don't know if I'm like totally safe, like Monty's got a tough matchup against a good Seattle team, and Zay Flowers laid a goose egg last week, and Josh Downs will probably lay a goose egg this week, but starting him to get me 5 points, which no guarantee that happens. So I mean, I sent some trades out yesterday, but nothing was crazy, so we'll see.
Yeah. Looking at this, I feel like I should have Phillip higher, because I feel like Phillip is a lot safer than like you two.
Yeah,
and
I would agree.
I feel like he should be more like 7, but then Johnny should be higher too. It's like I just feel like there's such a clear distinction of these like top 10 teams, and then it's like then you get to the bottom half. But like you have a case to make to be up in the middle too. But there's such a clear distinction right now, and I feel like these like 3-4 teams are gonna all go in like these next 4 weeks. But it's Guillotine though. It doesn't always work like that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, we're keeping it under 50 minutes this week. We did it. The hot take, who I think is getting eliminated, not a hot take. I've got Jake. I just want to get one right first. But like I said, I don't see a team outside of those three getting eliminated this week. So we will see. Or getting really gulag, not eliminated, but you get the idea. Ryan, do you concur? Do you have your own hot take?
I think David goes.
David goes. Okay. I mean,
I think
based on your analysis of his matchups, I think you've got a good case to make there. David and Jake, hot takes to go this week. That is it.
Let's see if I can get one before Eric does.
Ryan, go 1 for 1. I should put out a poll every week of who do you think is going to get eliminated, and everyone needs to put one vote in and see who's the favorite. Maybe I'll throw that in the chat after I post this video. But all right, that wraps up the Week 4 preview. We'll see what happens. But don't get eliminated. Thank you, Ryan, for being on this week.
Anytime. Bye, everybody.